Hello all you incredible internet people, I hope you're all doing amazing as you should be. We bought another FG, got this thing really cheap, but it is not without its fair share of issues, hence why we got it cheap. Let me show you the car, what it's about, what's going on with it, and can we fix it. So this is it, it's a 2012 FG XR6 Eco LPI, so it is a dedicated gas, and it's in vanilla flavour, which is delicious. So all in all, this car actually presents pretty good. It has been not on the road for a good few months, so it does have some cobwebs and stuff on it. But all in all, it's not too bad. Interior on it is exceptional. It's got the color screen, as it is a Mark II. Having said that, some Mark I's did also have color screens. And yeah, all in all, not in bad condition. However, it doesn't run. So let me show you what it's doing. Yeah, so basically, if you try and start this thing, if we just turn the ignition on, we have vehicle immobilised, brake fail, ABS fault, and DSC fault, so dynamic stability control fault. It's showing 398,000 Ks, which is not true. And if we try and start the thing, absolutely nothing happens. So basically, story with this car goes, when you saw inside just before, you would have seen there's a cluster sitting here. This is the original cluster out of the car. This car has done about 210,000 Ks. So basically, customer states, story of our lives, it was driving along, dash lit up with a whole bunch of issues shortly after the car shut off, and then he couldn't get it started again. It was checked out and it was diagnosed that it had a faulty instrument cluster. Apparently the instrument cluster could not be communicated with when you plug a scan tool in. A second-hand cluster was fitted, which is this one, but the car is still having the same issues. So this is the original cluster from the car. I basically am going to go through and see if we can get this thing going. First thing I'm going to do, well, first thing I've actually already done is when I got the car, it had a completely and totally flat battery. So I've just put a brand new battery in it. That's the only thing I've done to this so far. So she's got a brand new Century battery in it. As I mentioned before, dedicated gas injectors for the win. Very good engine, these. Our old battery sitting there, which is also lemon and blueberry flavour. So we're going to plug into this thing and see what codes it gives us and go from there. So I've accessed the fuse panel under the dash. That just sort of unclips. I've just got that panel out of the way. The OBD plug is here. While I had this off, as soon as I took this off, I flicked the ignition on and I've gone through and checked all of the fuses under here just as a precautionary measure. And I've also popped the bonnet and checked all of the fuses in the fuse box in the engine bay behind the battery. They are also all good. So I just wanted to sort of start with the obvious. So now we've got my scanner plugged in, got the details of the car in there. So we're going to flick the ignition on. It's going to sing us a song, which doesn't really matter. So we're going to go through and do a code scan. This will do a full check of the whole car and every system, and will tell us what's going on. So we've got a few things in here. So in engine codes, it's still doing a scan, as you can see. But engine so far, we have OBD checks aren't complete, theft detected, vehicle immobilised, fuel cutoff switch activated. Being an LPG, it does have a fuel cutoff switch. Control module communication. Lost communication with ABS. Lost communication with ECU. Central configuration not programmed. Wiper switch, sure, that would not be related. Control module communication. Yeah, look, she's got a few codes in there. A few of them worry me. And I'm already starting to develop a little bit of an understanding of what might be going on with this car, which I will get more info for you shortly. I'm going to go through and do a full code clear. And then I'm going to rescan it and see what comes back. So, done a code clear. We're going to cycle the key. So turn that off. Turn it back on. It'll probably sing a song again, which it is. So we'll scan it again. It's almost finished, 83%, 91. So pretty much, yeah, all those codes that I've just cleared have all come back. All right, so we're gonna park this for now. What I'm gonna do is have a think. Give me a sec. Rightio, I've had a little think, and here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start with pulling this cluster back out, and I'm gonna put this one in, the original one for the car, and I'm gonna rescan it and sort of just see if it gives us any different codes or if some codes go away and different ones pop up or whatever, just to sort of paint a bit of a picture. If we are able to get this car up and running, I want to do it with the original cluster, considering this one is showing almost half the Ks of what this one is, and that is the original one for the car. So I'm going to go through and do that quickly. So to do this, it's not too hard to pull a cluster out of these. I drop the steering wheel down. Here, just hold that there, lock that back in place. This cover, normally just have to manipulate it for it to come off, but this one's already started half coming off. This silver trim here just sort of clips out from the bottom. So I normally get a trim tool in behind here and clip that out. Actually, I'll get that trim out first and then I'll show you what I'm on about. Cool. So plastic trim's off and then the upper column cover just sort of came off. Now there's just two screws. There's a Phillips head screw there and another one down in there. Take those two out. The cluster comes forward, and then from memory, there's two plugs. Yes, two plugs on the back of the cluster that you sort of got to get your hand behind. Once you unscrew it and pull it forward, you get your hand behind and unplug both of those plugs. So I've got it unscrewed. Bit hard to see. Trying to show you where the connectors are. There and there. So we'll just get those unplugged and we'll sit the other one in there. Alrighty, so we've got this cluster out of here. So that one can go down here for now. Out of the way. We'll get this one plugged in. I'm not going to go through and screw it in or anything. I'm just going to sort of sit it in place. And then we'll rescan and go from there. Fantastic. Original cluster's back in. 210,000 Ks. Which reflects what the car is supposed to have. So, now, next thing next. Stay there. Go back into our previous vehicles here. Being the Falcon was the last one I scanned. Let's put this out of the way too. So we'll go through, flick the ignition on, see what it tells us now. Wipers work. Okay, interesting. The radio works now, which it wasn't before. It was saying code error. Did it come up with vehicle immobilised? So we don't have the vehicle immobilised code, well, message coming up anymore. So if I hit the key, hey, we have a running car. Well, that's great news. However, yeah, still ABS fault, still brake fail, and still stability control fault. Car is running a little bit rough. All right, so next, let's turn that off, go ignition back on, showing that we're ready to start. Do a code scan. See. Yeah, so we've still got all those other messages coming up, which we know about. So let's do another scan here. Still got that theft detected, but I haven't cleared the codes yet since we've plugged this cluster in. So we'll let this scan and then we'll just have a quick look. Okay, we've got a couple of new codes in the instrument panel cluster now. Cruise control switch short to battery, that's a new one too. All right, so let's go through and clear everything. Clear. We'll cycle the key again, and I might even start it back up. Engine sounds really healthy. So now that that's run for a little bit, we're going to go key off, ignition on, radio down, so I don't get done for copyright. And let's scan it again. So this will be what tells the story, I think. I'm just going to scan it. I'll stop the video and I'll check back in with you. Okay, so basically, engine codes, we've only got this, not all OBD system monitor checks are complete. So the other codes are gone from that. We've still got some codes in the transmission, lost communication with the ABS system and lost communication with the ECM, PCM. So that's in the transmission. ABS, we've got central configuration not programmed. The wiper switch fault's still there, but I'm not fussed about it because the wipers work. Yeah, whatever, they work is good enough for me. We've also got lost communication with the ECM, PCM. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of digging. I might even make a phone call or two and I'll check back in with you. Rightio, so we've had this thing running for about 35-40 minutes, just sitting here idling. The fans have cycled, which indicates the engine's up to operating temperature. I've driven it forward to the gate and reversed it back up a couple of times just to make sure it's got forward and back gears. It's all running well, doing what it needs to do. Engine sounds nice and healthy, but we still do have all of these faults coming up on the dash. So here's where I'm at basically with this thing. When the other owner of this car before I got it, he said when he was driving, keep in mind, this issue happened when he had that cluster that's currently in the car was in it, the original cluster. All the warnings came up on the dash, the car started running rough and it shut off. Then he tried to restart the car and it was giving him a vehicle immobilised message on the dash, like we saw when it had the other cluster in it that was in it at the start of this video. So my suspicion was something, and I've just gotten off the phone with Injectronics in Keysborough in Melbourne. Injectronics are a ripper bunch of guys, super smart, way smarter than I'll ever be. And they specialise in automotive component repair. So we're talking ABS control modules, engine ECUs, body control modules, key readers, instrument cluster repair, all of that fancy stuff, which is way above my head because it all involves circuit boards and like little diodes and stuff of component testing of those things and replacing. So what he has said is it sounds like this thing has an intermittent fault or some kind of fault with the instrument cluster that's in this car. And also there is other faults that we know of because we've got all those other warnings on the dash, and it's looking like it's probably got a fault with the body control module and maybe a fault with the ABS module or a combination of all of the above. We don't really know. The only way to do this is to remove a whole bunch of components and get them sent away to Injectronics for them to test each thing individually repair and reprogram as they need, and then they send them back. That's not something I'm going to be able to do today because I've got retail work that I need to do. So I've got to go out on site and do that stuff. But basically, we're going to have to go through and remove a bunch of stuff. The things we need to remove are as follows. From inside the car, there is body control module up under the dash. We need to remove the instrument cluster, which we will use the original one from this car, which is this one. The key reader, which is this clear guy here, which you've got to remove the bottom steering column cover to get that off. The keys need to go as well. And then on top of that, from under the bonnet, we need to remove the engine ECU, which is this. These have security bolts from factory, shear bolts, where the heads of them snap off when you bolt them in. So we need to grind a groove into these to try and get these bolts out. And also the ABS control module, which is back here. This guy sucks to remove when the ABS module is in the car because this is the whole thing. This is just the brains of it, this black part. But I don't want to go cracking brake lines and stuff because I just don't want to. So I will battle with this to get it out in the car, but that needs to come out as well. So all of this stuff will need to be removed and sent off for repair. When I get onto doing this stuff, I'm not really sure, but you will see it probably right about now. We need to pull our finger out and start getting all the stuff out of this to get sent off to be repaired. I've already gone through and pulled the body control module out of it. That just sits up in here, and I got as far as doing that, and I was like, well, I should probably film some of this stuff, so here we go. So we also need to take the cluster back out. It is still just sitting in there. I've just got to undo the couple of plugs that hold it in. So we'll do that next. That was nice and easy. It was just those two plugs. So the cluster is out. Next thing we need to remove is the key reader, which is right here. But there's 3 Phillips head screws underneath the steering column. One there, and one there. So we'll remove them and get this bottom cover off. So I got that bottom cover off. To remove the key reader, it's pretty simple. There's a little bolt back here you got to undo, and then this little green plug. Boom, that's off as well. So that's it from inside the car. We just also need the 2 keys. That's easy. Now from under the bonnet, we need to remove the engine ECU, which is this guy right here. And we also need to remove the brains off the ABS module, which is back here. I'm going to start by removing this because they are pretty tricky to get off. So I'm just going to remove the intake pipe off this, just so I've got a bit more room for hands. Okay, so we've got the intake pipe off. To get these ABS modules out, there's these 4 Torx head bolts. There's one there, there's one there just in front of my finger, and then there's 2 more underneath. The 2 underneath you can't see, you have to do it by braille. And then there's this big electrical plug on the side here as well. So I'm just gonna have an argument with this for the next however long and see how we go. That was a nightmare of a job. Ended up undoing this 10mm and just sort of prying the module forward and up a little bit just for a little bit more space, but even still there wasn't much. But we got it out. So all that's left now is the ECU. The ECU is held in with 3 bolts, which are shear bolts, security bolts from factory, so they end up snapping the heads off when you tighten them up. I just go through with a little angle grinder and just cut a slit in them, and then you can just wind them out. All right, so we've gone through and gotten these bolts out, cut a slot on the top of them, and I was able to unscrew them. So now there's just 3 connectors in the bottom of the ECU that I need to undo, which are there, and then that ECU is out. All right, so we have got everything out that we need. Got our cluster, our ABS module, or the brains of it. We've got our body control module, our engine ECU, both of our keys, and our key reader. So I'm going to carefully box all of this up and use all of the bubble wrap, send this stuff off to Injectronics, and I'll check back with you in however many weeks it takes for them to check it out and let you know what they find. Rightio guys, fast forward a few weeks, we've got everything back from Injectronics. Got our BCM, our cluster, our ECU, ABS module, key reader and keys and everything are down there. Long story short, they did find an intermittent fault in the cluster, and there was also something in the BCM they said played up once but then didn't play up again. I'm just waiting for the official report to come through. The weird thing is though, they said they didn't find anything that was sort of reflecting what the car was actually doing, where you start the car every single time and it was coming up with those warnings. So they've done the repairs of what they found, but the repairs of the things they found wrong do not really coincide with what the car was doing. So all we can really do is go through and chuck everything back in the car and just see how it goes. So I'm going to go through and do all of that now. I want to start by putting the stuff in under the bonnet. And yeah, just sort of work through it. I don't know if I'll get it all done today, but I'll just sort of chip away at it over the next few days of getting it all back together. And I'll check back in with you once it's all together. So I thought I'd start with under the bonnet and do the ABS module, considering how tricky it is. But I got it all in, got all the 4 Torx bolts in, it's all plugged in. Everything I've had to move out of the way to get it out is all back together. Intake pipes back on, and I'll also put the engine ECU back in as well. Ditched the bolts that we had to cut slots into, and I've just replaced them with normal bolts and washers. So everything under the bonnet, short of connecting the battery, is done, but I want to call it there for the day because it's getting quite late. When I get a little bit more time, we'll move onto the interior stuff, which is a bit simpler. Alrighty, it's a new day, it's actually a new month. We've actually finally finished putting all the ECUs and computers and stuff back into this thing. From when I first started this video to where we are now, I actually first started filming the video on this car almost 3 months ago. It's just how much of an ordeal this has been, going backwards and forwards and jumping on it and jumping off it. So we've basically got everything back in it, we've connected the battery. I've been instructed by Injectronics to turn the ignition on and do a code scan before I try and start it. So this is basically, here we go. Moment of truth. Hopefully it doesn't come up with any warnings with the ignition on. That would be nice. I'm not too panicked if it does, because we haven't cleared anything yet. But looking good so far. So I want to do a code scan on the thing, and I'll check back in with you once this is finished. Rightio, so we finished scanning, and what we currently have are the not all OBD2 system monitor checks are complete, which I'm not overly concerned about. We still have the wiper switch circuit front failure, which I'm also not too concerned about, and that's it. Besides from that, there's nothing else. Car's been sitting here with the ignition on while it cycled. Still no messages coming up on the dash, so I'm just going to go ahead and cycle the key. Give the thing a start and see what happens. Fantastic. Awesome news. Finally, no warnings are coming on. They have advised me though to drive the thing, if it is all good, to drive the thing for a day or two just to make sure it's okay. So we might go ahead and do that, and I'll check back in with you in a few days, I guess. Been driving this thing for a little bit over a week now, and everything on it is mint. I had no issues whatsoever. I actually just went down and got a couple of new front tires for it earlier today, and yeah, really happy with how the car's driving. So I'm just going to go through and fix a few more little things on it, suspension related, and then we can get this thing ready to sell. Bit of a long-winded video, this one, of going backwards and forwards trying to figure out issues, but we eventually got there in the end, and happy that the car is now working good, and looking forward to moving it on to its new home. So if you want to see more content like this, please remember to like and subscribe, and until I see you in the next video, be good to yourselves, and as always, each other.